Alright, so here in this video I'm bringing you the inner firemonk for speed farming greater with 130's. And this variant here uses the shenlongs weapon, which is a massive damage increase, but I know a lot of people are a bit scared to use them because they are a bit gimmicky. But don't worry, in this video I'm going to show you everything you need to know and understand in order to make this kind of build so you can also blast up to tier 130's in this kind of time. As you can see on the screen here, I'm doing about 132's in about 2.5 minutes. And I have pretty high paragon, but as I'm playing on hardcore, I know a lot of people at about 1700 paragon or so, and it can also easily blast tier 130's. So as long as you get the correct gear and learn the playstyle, you can easily do this. So playstyle wise, it's all about just keeping your epiphany and your serenity on cooldown, and then you want to use your dash around to find elites. This is a straight elite hunting build, and you need to only kill elites. So when you find elite, you want to use your Rift 100 Fist and your Cyclone Strike to proc your foes and restraint and your braces. And after that, you are free to then use your Mystic Allies. So where does all our damage come from? If you look at the inner set, it is all about buffing your Mystic Allies. And when you have the full 6 piece equipped, you get a massive 30,000 increased damage to them. In terms of the soul shards, on a weapon we're using the Dregs of Lies, and here we're actually using the one where you kill an elite enemy, it reduces the cooldown of all your active skills by 5 seconds. This Dregs of Lies combined with the Indium is the reason why this build functions, and you need this in order to reset your cooldowns enough so you can spam your Mystic Ally. And for the helmet soul shard, we're using the Sliver of Terror. This is just to get a massive damage increase from the attack speed and crit per skill on cooldown. Now let's look at the shenlongs here. I know a lot of people are a bit confused as to how they work, so let me try and explain it to you. So the shenlongs have two parts of it. The first one is the damage with spirit duelers is increased by 2% for each point spirit you have. This does nothing for this build, don't worry about that first line. The one we're after is when reaching maximum spirit, all damage is increased by 350% and you no longer regen spirit. We are all about just getting this 350% massive damage multiplier, which basically means that now that we are actively elite hunting, you want to find an elite and then you want to make sure that you proc this before you then use your Mystic Allies. And you do this by simply just holding your generator, your Rift on his fist down for long enough while on the elite pack. And when you then see the debuff icon next to your spirit bar, that's when you want to pop everything. Basically by using these shenlongs here, you're able to go about 7 tiers up in terms of your damage from the fire ally speed ones. So let's say you were doing about 120s before using either the inner stick or Echoing Fury Indium, you should now be able to do about 127s or so, just by this damage increase alone. Now it will be a bit slower, but I find it really worth it. And my table GR runs at about 2.5 minutes or so it's still really quick. Now let's look at the gear, shall we? So for the weapons, you actually don't really need a lot of stats. It's mainly just about having a high damage roll, so up to 1940. And then you want something like percent damage, attack speed, or even cooldown reduction is really good for speeds. As you can see in this weapon here on my offhand, I have attack speed and cooldown reduction. Now this is a good weapon for speeds, but if I want to push, I do not want the cooldown reduction. And currently I'm running with about 46% cooldown or so, and that's actually good enough as long as you make sure that you have the Dregs of Lies that also reduces cooldown. This also procs on elite packs, their minions, and also blue packs. For the rings, you ideally want something like attack speed, crit, cooldown, crit. Basically get crit and then cooldown, attack speed, or a damage roll. For gloves, you want to get a quad factor. It doesn't matter if it's ancient or non-ancient, but you want to get crit, cooldown, and attack speed. For the shoulders, using all kills here, you want dexterity, vitality, cooldown, and Mystic Ally damage. For the helmet, you want dexterity, vitality, crit chance. For chest piece, you want dexterity, vitality, Mystic Ally damage. For the belt, you want dexterity, vitality, always, and percent life. For the pants, you want dexterity, vitality, and always. For the boots, you want dexterity, vitality, all resistance, and armor. For necklace, you're using Squirt's amulet here, and you want fire and crit. But as long as you have fire percent and you have critical hit damage, that's good enough because those are the most important things. But if you can't get fire crit, that will of course be the perfect roll. And the base, you want 5%, you want crit chance, and you want dexterity. Now I quickly want to mention that your build can actually vary depending on what kind of items you have. So for me, I have a pair of primal boots, so I of course want to equip them and then have the braces in the cube. But in case you have a really good pair of braces but you have terrible boots, you want to switch it around. So basically you will want the coolest boots in your cube, you want the braces on here as braces, and you basically just want to have this all killed here be on the chest piece instead, along with the shoulder pads. For legendary gems, we're using Bane of the Trap for massive damage increase. We're of course also using Enforcer because of the pet increase here, so massive damage. And also Bane of the Powerful for getting extra damage to elites and also Rift Guardian. For the cube, we of course have Indium. This is mandatory. This allows us to first of all dash around after we're killing a pack, and then we can easily find another pack. So make sure you really use this. You need to find packs within these 10 seconds where you can dash infinitely. In the armor slot, I have Binding of the Lizard God. Of course, you can also have your coolest boots here depending on which one of you have with the best roll. And of course here I'm talking about the secondary roll. You want as close to 200% as possible. And for dual piece, of course, Ring of Rare Grandeur allows us to have 5 piece inners and 2 piece all kills and gain the full effect of both sets. For the spells using Rift 100 Fist with Blazing Fist, this procs for restraint and gives it attack speed. Of course, Mystic Ally with Fire Ally for massive damage. Second Strike Implosion to pull enemies in, and also of course to proc up Bindings of the Sagard. Serenity Ascension for another cooldown for damage increase, and also of course for the immortality that you gain from this. Dazzling Strike with Radiance for more damage. Epiphany Disroute for damage reduction. Now if you want to play this build on the defensive side, like I am playing hardcore right now, you would play something like this. So you have Guardian's Path, you would have Beacon of Vidar, you'd have Near Death Experience, and of course also Seize the Initiative. All of this is a good combination of damage reduction and damage increase. But this is a bit overkill. If you're playing softcore, you can easily survive without these. So for instance, I would change my Guardian's Path to Unity, and then also change the Near Death Experience to Momentum. If you're playing softcore and you have all of these 4 equipped at the same time, you will deal a ton of damage. If I had this equipped as my passives, I would basically get another 2 or 3 GR levels worth of damage. But of course, since I'm hardcore, I'm not really gonna do that. I want to make sure I don't lose my character. And the follow-up using Enchanters, of course. She gets a massive toughness increase from our Enforcer, and that allows us to then have, for instance, the Focus On that gains access to all skills, and therefore we gain both cooldown reduction and elemental damage from these 2 skills down here. And of course, we also have a Flavor of Time and Nemesis braces for maximum effect of pylons. And for even more toughness for her, of course, make sure you have a Mutilation Guard and also a Esoteric Alteration. And also, of course, get an Oculus Ring to get rings for yourself. You can go and stand in for damage increase. With this setup here, even at about a Paragon 1700 or so, if you have the correct items and you have ancient weapons, you can easily blast about the 130's. Check out one of the 2 videos on the screen now for even more amazing Diablo guides, and I'll see you over there. Peace out, everyone.